Okay, Luis Naves, Mr. Mehran Aghbar is the representative of the interim government of Afghanistan. So the floor is yours.
Thank you. I'm very pleased to meet you. And my first question is why I know that you represent the president of Afghanistan, Mr. Saleh. And my first question is, what is the legitimacy of President Saleh and why he has proclaimed himself as president?
So first off, I would like to thank you all for having me and being able to talk to you guys. Second, I'm the advisor to the ambassador of Afghanistan in Tajikistan, Lieutenant General Mohammadd Zahir Aghbar. And in regards to acting President Saleh, according to the Constitution of Afghanistan, Articles 60 and 67 in specific, once a president resigns from his office or flees the country or passes away, according to the Constitution, the first vice president takes oath of office as caretaker. If the first vice president is not in the country, that duty is passed on to the second vice president. But as acting President Saleh is currently in Afghanistan, he is the caretaker of the government of Afghanistan.
Yes, we know that he is in the Panjshir Valley, and he has been attacked twice, as there is information that when he went to Panjshir Valley, he was attacked twice. What happened exactly?
His convoys were attacked on the way on the first day when he went to Panjshir. But afterwards, the Taliban have not been able to attack Panjshir in specific. And Panjshir is technically a secure zone for everyone.
Yes. What is the situation of your rebellion against the Taliban? At present, you are fighting in the Panjshir Valley, or is more broad this fighting?
So the only territory under the influence of the government of Afghanistan is Panjshir. The people who are in Panjshir, acting President Saleh is taking care of the government, and the son of our national hero, Ahmad Shah Massoud, his son, Ahmad Massoud, is the head of the national resistance of Afghanistan. And in Panjshir currently, we are calling for peace. We are calling for peace without a fight. And if the Taliban are willing to accept this peace and respect the gains that we've had in the past 20 years, for example, women's rights, children's rights, freedom of press, freedom of education, freedom of speech, if they are willing to respect and abide by all international laws, we are willing to go forth to have an inclusive government with them. But if not, and if they resist and try to attack Panjshir, naturally we will defend ourselves.
So you are negotiating with the Taliban, this so-called inclusive government?
We have called on them. Acting President Saleh has also called upon them. And we've always stated that we are always ready for peace. We don't want any more bloodshed. But we don't want there to be peace, a government where the Taliban have authority and take everything under their own control. We have seen how that has ended up. History has shown how the Taliban govern and how they control everything. And currently, history is somewhat repeating itself. And the provinces in Afghanistan where they control, there's violations of human rights, there's targeted killings going on, and in any way, shape, or form that you could think of violation of international laws, it's being committed there. So if they are willing to accept the things that they share and the agreements, because what they speak is much more different than how they act. If they agree on what they speak and act upon that, we are willing to have an inclusive government and have peace.
So you trust the Taliban when you are talking with them?
Do we trust the Taliban? No. But do we have any alternative? Sure. We can approach them. The international community can interfere in this. The international community can put pressure on them, because no government can function alone. So if we can, if they can work with us. If they can work with us, then
I have to ask you also.
Yes, please continue.
Sorry. I have to ask you, in your opinion, why this government of Afghanistan fell with this rebellion, against this rebellion of the Taliban? They seemed, it seemed impossible because the government had 80,000 soldiers or 100,000 soldiers, and all the support, financial support of the West. Why did they fall?
So the number of troops that Afghanistan had was, we had an army force of roughly 350,000 troops. We probably had one of the strongest army forces in the region. And I really like the question because everyone has that question as well. There is no logic that will ever accept the fact that Afghanistan lost militarily to the Taliban. The Taliban who have no resources, the Taliban who weren't as trained and well equipped as the army force of Afghanistan. The international community, the US, NATO, and everyone spent billions of dollars on Afghanistan, on Afghanistan's army force. And the way that we lost our army force was through our former president, the one who fled, Ghani, surrendering our troops to them, our provinces to them, which eventually he fled the country as well. And there was no the Taliban could have taken over military. That was out of the equation. The Taliban could have never done that. They could have never accomplished that.
Yes. Do you feel betrayed by the West?
By the West, currently there's violations. There's violations of human rights. There's violations of everything going on in Afghanistan. Do I think that they could do a better job? Absolutely. Afghans need to build amongst themselves, but also the international community should put more pressure on the Taliban. We left 6,000 Taliban prisoners when the international community stated that we should leave them. And all of those that we released from the prison, they all returned back to the battlefield. So the pressure that they put on the government of Afghanistan isn't as much pressure that they put on the Taliban. I think more pressure should be put on them to stop their military operations, to stop their contact with other terrorist organizations, because Afghanistan currently is in the hands of the Taliban. 33 provinces of it in specific. We should not let Afghanistan be a safe haven for international terrorists, for them to use Afghanistan as a trampoline to threat the region and eventually threat the world as well.
Are there terrorist groups in Afghanistan protected by the Taliban presently?
As they say, no. As they say, no, but have they stopped contact? Absolutely not.
But do you think there will be in the future?
If the pressure isn't put on the Taliban, if pressure is not put on the Taliban, if we let them dictate everything and rule everything the way they want, Afghanistan is going to turn into a safe haven for international terrorists, which is what we're fighting for. Because this threat won't only be in Afghanistan. We saw how COVID spread around the world and it shut the world. If we let Afghanistan be a safe haven for international terrorists, these terrorists will be like a virus just spreading around the world. It started in Afghanistan, but eventually, if we do not control it in Afghanistan right now, it'll eventually spread.
What do you recommend to the international community, namely China, Russia, United States? How should they talk with the Taliban? Firmly, or recognizing that the Taliban have won this war?
The international community should accept the fact that should push the Taliban towards, first of all, having their ceasefire that they declared a while ago. They're currently violating every human rights there is. There's no control of them in Afghanistan. They're doing targeted killings. They're hanging people. 1990s is repeating itself once again. So if the world should answer not only to the people of Afghanistan, but to their own citizens. America spent billions of dollars of their taxpayers' money. The international European Union spent billions of dollars of their taxpayers' money. And all for what? The 20 years of gains that we had, we lost in less than 10 days. So they should put more pressure on the Taliban. They should seek to a peace process. We should form an inclusive government that every ethnicity and tribe in Afghanistan is represented and respected equally in it. Once we are able to achieve that, we're able to have a sustainable and long-lasting peace in Afghanistan.
Yes. What about the Tajik people? It's about 25% of the population. What do you want exactly from this inclusive government? It's equal share of power or something else?
We're not fighting for power here. We're fighting for peace. Afghanistan, no one knows the statistics and the actual facts of what percentage of Afghanistan is Tajiks, what percentage is Pashtuns, or what percentage is Uzbeks or Hazaras or any other ethnic tribe there is in Afghanistan. So what we want, the way that we define an inclusive government, is that every single ethnicity and tribe in Afghanistan sees themselves in it, sees that they are represented in that government. They do not feel left out. If they are represented equally in that government, and if their rights are respected, if their wants and needs are respected, we're able to have peace. If we're not able to achieve that and provide that for the people, then peace will just be an illusion for us.
Yes, I understand. Do you have any support from Russia or from China?
Define support. They're not supporting us logistically. They're not supporting us militarily. Afghanistan is currently locked. International flights are blocked. There's no flights aside from the military flights, that aircrafts that come in by the Americans and the European Union that take Afghans out. So Afghans are currently stuck in Afghanistan. The way that they can support us is supporting the peace process. As superpowers of the world, they can put more pressure on the Taliban, on the safe havens of the Taliban.
But how? With bombing or?
No. Violence is never the solution.
Can they do this?
Violence was never the solution.
Okay. So you're thinking about what kind of pressure?
The way that they can pressure them is stop their, for example, America has 6,000 troops in Afghanistan right now. Khalil Haqqani, one of the big leaders of the Haqqani group, he's currently in Afghanistan with a $5 million bounty on his head. There's no action being taken on that. They know his whereabouts, and there's 6,000 US troops in the airport in Afghanistan. So if actions are taken by the international community against terrorists, if they are committing crimes, because they are, they're violating human rights, they're hurting people, they're hurting people, they're violating human rights, and this is continuing on. They're robbing people's houses, and they're doing the targeted killings. So if there's pressure put on them in order to control and maintain that, that's a way that we could go forth.
Well, a more personal question. Do you have any memory of the first Taliban power between 1996 and 2001? You have personal memories of this?
No. I was born in 2000.
Okay.
So when we lost the government to the Taliban the first time, I was born. And now that we've lost it to the second time, I'm here talking with you about it.
Okay. But your family was, they have memories? They tell stories about this?
Yes, absolutely. My father fought next to Ahmad Shah Massoud. His Excellency Lieutenant General Mohammadd Zahir Aghbar, current ambassador of Afghanistan to Tajikistan. He was fighting against the Taliban with Ahmad Shah Massoud and other commanders of the resistance at the time. And they share their memories. They share the dark times. And as kids, we always used a vision of, try to create a vision of what they were talking about. But now growing up, we are seeing that first sight and with our own eyes, which is very unfortunate. It's something that we didn't want to share to our kids, but unfortunately we have to as well.
I understand. Thank you. I give the floor to the other gentleman. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Luís Naves, for your excellent interview. So, Mehran, I will introduce Mr. Marquez. Mr. Marquez have also some other questions for our Center for Strategic Analysis. Please, Mr. Marquez.
Thank you so much. So just 2 or 3 questions related a little bit with the questions of Mr. Luís Naves, if you don't mind. It's just trying to understand who are those Talibans that are now in Afghanistan, because a lot of them was born in the beginning, and they are from Afghanistan too. They are coming from other sides. Could you please give us some light on who are this group? They are really a united group. Thank you.
So the Taliban, we can't categorize them into one specific group and say they belong to one place. The Taliban have been able to... Afghanistan's war, and let me put it this way, isn't the war of the Afghans. It's war of other countries taking place in Afghanistan. Afghanistan has turned to their battlefield. We could say that the Taliban are from specific regions, which there's international terrorist organizations in a large majority of the countries in the region. So the Taliban are a contribution of all of them. But the safe haven for the Taliban, it's very aware for the international community. It's very, the world knows it, the people know it, everyone knows it, of where their safe havens are, where they're trained, where they're supplied from. So I don't think I need to go in depth of where that is.
Thank you. And actually related, again, with the biggest security challenge that you foresee in a regional scale and in the short term, what do you think we can assist if there is this abandon from the international community?
If we're disabandoned by the international community, the threat won't only be in Afghanistan. Afghanistan shares its borders with Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, and a large majority of other countries. This threat won't only be in Afghanistan. It'll spread, like I mentioned, the virus. It'll spread across the borders. This won't stop only in Afghanistan. Because once the Taliban accept the fact that, okay, that they convince themselves logically that, okay, we took over an army force of 350,000, don't you think that they'd be attacking the region the next day? They'd want to conquer more. They'd want to spread out. They don't want to only stay in Afghanistan. So that's why what I was mentioning was that action has to be taken on them at this course of time in history. We are at a crucial time, and if we do not maintain it, if we do not push the Taliban to have an inclusive peace, have an inclusive government and peace in Afghanistan, then we'd be having issues with our neighboring countries, with the region, and soon the international community.
Okay, thank you.
So, Mehran, just another question. So, what are the major security concerns, and what are the challenges from the humanitarian to security ones that Portugal may face on giving asylum to the Afghan refugees? What kind of special care that Portugal should have to deal with the refugees situations in case of accepting the asylum?
So, as we're all aware, the situation in Afghanistan is extremely serious. So it's the perfect time for the international community, especially Portugal, to create a safe haven for figures who are in danger in Afghanistan. Figures that help build the country into what it is today. So that they can be in a safe place until their country is back, headed towards peace, that they can return back. Until then, it is the responsibility and the duty of the international community to stand by Afghans and support them during these tough times. It's our duty as humans to be there for each other and each other's tough times.
So what could be the threats when there are coming refugees from Afghanistan to Portugal, for example? Even giving them asylum, what kind of threats could be coming in the sense of having the refugees or some any high-profile refugees from Afghanistan regarding to the Taliban's, threats or other ways to attack those people?
So terrorism is an international threat. This isn't a threat that only poses Afghanistan. And not only Portugal, but the international community should be careful, extremely cautious, because if Afghanistan, like I mentioned, becomes a safe haven for terrorists from around the world, they will use Afghanistan as a trampoline. So the international community, Portugal, everyone should be careful. And the large majority of these terrorists are wanted criminals around the world. It would be very obvious to mark who they are and who they aren't.
So do you think that the Taliban will go around the world and to target those high-profile people from Afghanistan, officials or former officials, whatever?
No, they will not be able to do that. Currently, they're all on the blacklist. And if we accept them into an inclusive government, then they'll probably be wiped off of that list. But until then, they can't. The international, around the world, different countries are safe. Afghanistan, yes, unfortunately, it has come into the situation where 33 provinces out of the 34 are under their control. But it'll be out of their reach. But if not maintained, but if their terrorism is not maintained in Afghanistan, that wouldn't be a truth that would be very far from us.
So, finalizing, what kind of role do you expect from Portugal or the Portuguese government?
From the Portuguese government, not only from the Portuguese government, but from the international community and as NATO and everyone, as Portugal being a part of NATO, is to stick alongside Afghans during these tough times. We need to put pressure on the Taliban. We need to not turn a blind eye on the violation of human rights and everything that's going on in Afghanistan currently. NATO, the international community, spend billions of dollars. Their citizens should ask them for what did we get in return? If we fought for women's rights, we've currently lost that. If we fought for freedom of press, we've lost that. If we fought for women's rights, we've lost that. If we fought for children's rights, we've currently lost that. In a matter of 10 days, we've lost 20 years of things. So the international community, their citizens, Portugal and everyone should put pressure on their governments and ask them, okay, what did we gain from this? You spent our millions and billions of dollars of our tax money on Afghanistan, but what was it for? And once they're able to answer that, then we'll be able to see what the outcome will be. Because I'm sure
Thank you. And the last question is, as you know, as far as you know, the Secretary General of the United Nations is a Portuguese, Mr. Antonio Guterres. So if you had an opportunity, what kind of message would you like to address to him?
The United Nations shouldn't turn a blind eye. There was a lot of violation of human rights. There's a lot of threats going on in Afghanistan. The Taliban are doing everything the opposite of international laws. So I don't know. The message that I would try to pass forth is the United Nations in specific is they shouldn't turn a blind eye on Afghans right now. They should see the situation, observe the situation of what is going on, and help them find a solution. The solution is an inclusive government, and pressure should be put on the Taliban to stop their cruelty, to stop their violence, and we head towards a peace and a stable Afghanistan for the sake of the people that have seen way too much bloodshed. There's mothers, there's fathers, there's brothers, there's sisters. Someone who died today, if they're a woman, they're someone's mom, or they're someone's sister. And every house is mourning for their loved ones. We're lucky enough to be alive, so let's appreciate that and try to save the ones that we can.
Okay, thank you very much, Mehran. Thank you very much, Luís Naves and Mr. Marques. And yes, we are done. And then we will send you later on a PDF file of the interview from the Novo weekly newspaper.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Luís. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Tem por som. O Luís. Luís, obrigado. Não sei se tem por o som.
Agora já estou a ouvir. Sim.
Pronto. Foi o material possível, recolhido. Vou-lhe enviar isso tudo.
Muitíssimo obrigado.
Obrigado nós. Eu vou-lhe pedir agora as fotografias e as coisas todas.
Sim, muito obrigado.
Obrigado.
Obrigado, adeus.
Obrigado.
Bom dia.